Hey y'all, it is Mary Hyatt, and I am so excited to be with you on this lovely Wednesday. Happy Valentine's Day! I just love that the show fell on Valentine's Day. I know that for some of you, this is a really exciting day, and you get to celebrate the love that you have with somebody else. And there are probably some of you that want to pretend that this day is not even happening. And I know that just seeing social media posts and all kinds of stuff, there's a lot of grief, there's a lot of sadness, there's just a lot of loneliness on a day like today that focuses so much on the importance of having another person. And it's hard. It can be really, really hard. And so I'm glad that we get to be on the show today because we're going to be talking about love, not with another person, but love from the standpoint of what it looks like to embrace your body, to love your body, to accept your body in different ways, moving it, and yoga. And I have a very special guest today that I cannot wait to introduce you to. But before we get into all of that, we're just going to make sure everything is working on our end. And of course, if you're watching the replay later on, you can fast forward to minute number 5 where we start the official show. But this is the online green room, kind of behind the scenes, the hangout. And let me just get on here so that I can just make sure we've got it going. I can see your comments because I know that you're going to have a lot to talk about and share with us today. Ashley, hey girl. Hey Shell. And if you guys are joining us, tell me hi. Tell me what you are doing for Valentine's Day in the comments below. Maybe you can even share if you're happy that today is Valentine's Day, if you're having a hard time that today is Valentine's Day, whatever is coming up for you, go ahead and post it in the comments below so I can welcome you, so that I can say hi. And of course, if you have friends, sisters, mothers, girlfriends, aunts, cousins who are on this journey of body positivity, or on this journey of really embracing the body that they have right now and have been following me, or maybe you want them to know about this episode, go ahead and share this video right now. All you have to do is click the little share button. That way your friends, your family can see our show today, because this is one that I promise you are not going to want to miss, that you're going to want your people to know about, so that maybe tonight over dinner, or tomorrow over drinks, or this weekend when you get with some of your girlfriends, you can just talk about this body positivity, this more love as it relates to how we see ourselves in the mirror, how we move our body. So it's just going to be a really awesome show. So go ahead and share the video while you wait. Hey, Karen. Ashley, you said you're just doing dinner at home. I'm married and always thought this day was overrated. Totally. I know a lot of people who would agree with you on that. Shelly, you said that you're going to go salsa dancing for Valentine's Day. That's so fun. I love it. I am staying home tonight as well and cooking dinner for Bentley. He's been a little bit under the weather this week, so we're going to have a low-key evening tonight. And I have to say, I love Valentine's Day. I know that's kind of an unpopular opinion maybe, but I really do. I blame my mom for it. When we grew up, she was super obsessed with Valentine's Day. We decorated for Valentine's Day. We made handmade cards for Valentine's Day like a week before the actual day. We had a big Valentine's breakfast with heart-shaped pancakes and bacon and flowers and chocolates. And I think being the fact that I have 4 sisters, it was just, I don't know, we just had this like oozing, cheesy, amazing Valentine love celebration every single year. And maybe that's really why I'm so obsessed with love as being just this center of who we are, and why I preach it, why I want to live it, and just have that be the defining characteristic of my life. So I'll blame my mom and thank my mom for that one. But I love Valentine's Day. I know there's several people who don't love it. Samantha, you said you actually love Valentine's Day. Romantic dinner at home with the hubby. Love it. Abba-Jean, happy Valentine's Day, lovely ladies and gents. Yes, maybe we have some men on here that are watching. So happy Valentine's Day to y'all as well. So we're going to get started here in just under 30 seconds. You were in the right place at the right time. I'm so glad that you are here. And make sure while you are waiting to share this video. And while Rachel and I are talking today, I encourage you to give us some hearts, some thumbs up, comment generously so that we can engage with you. That's why I love talking on Facebook Live, because we get to have that interaction. So I'm excited for the show today. So let's get started. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Charlene. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Mary Hyatt Show. I am your show host, and I'm so excited that you are here on this very special episode with special guest, Rachel Estapa. And y'all, she is amazing. I'm going to introduce her in a second, but maybe this is your first time on the show. Maybe somebody recommended that you tune in today. Maybe you saw this on Facebook, and I just want to take a second to welcome you. I am so excited to share with you somebody who I have met and adore and who's just right in the same kind of line of thinking as me. But for those of you who don't know me, I am a life coach, an entrepreneur, and a presidential diamond with doTERRA essential oils. And my passion, my heart is to help women wake up, find their voice, and become fully alive. And so every week on this show, we talk about body positivity, we talk about intuitive eating, we talk about vulnerability, authenticity, what it looks like as women to stand in our own essence, knowing we are enough, knowing we are fully lovable without having to change a single thing. So I'm glad you're here. Welcome, and let's go ahead and start the show. So like I said, today is a very special episode because I have Rachel Estapa, who, if you have not heard of her, I'm so excited that you've tuned in today because she is somebody that you absolutely want to follow. I actually met her at a event this past summer, a Hot and Healthy Habits event, where it was a whole weekend of focusing on body positivity, on intuitive eating, and really teaching this beautiful group of ladies how to embrace the body that they have as it is today, without anything changing, without anything having to shift, that there is a way to begin to trust your body again, to connect with it, to create a relationship with it, and really have that kind of freedom in our bodies, no matter what size you're at today. And Rachel is somebody who has inspired me from a distance for a long time. I don't know if those of you who maybe don't know part of my journey, I got into this work because I became a plus size yoga teacher probably about 6 years ago. And I wanted to really help women learn how to move their bodies, to stretch, to breathe, to connect with themselves, no matter what size they were. And Rachel is such an advocate for that. So I want to tell you a little bit about who she is if you're not familiar with her. So Rachel is the founder of More to Love and is a professional life coach and Kripalu yoga teacher, writer, speaker, and social entrepreneur who educates and supports plus-size people on approaches to positive body image and wellness, enabling all bodies to lead more empowered lives. Rachel's refreshing perspectives and commitment to body acceptance is recognized as a trusted and valued presence in the rising body positive movement. Rather than focusing on a weight loss centered approach to well-being, Rachel's approach to body positive behaviors is grounded in the principles of self-acceptance. Through her array of programs, most notably More to Love Yoga, she helps people able body accepting practices into their daily lives. In 2016, her work was featured on ABC's local affiliate flagship program Chronicle, and she was named Best of the New in 2015 by Boston Globe magazine. She has repeatedly appeared in Huffington Post, XO Jane, the Boston Globe, Boston Innovation, Boston Magazine, and many more. Self-proclaimed more to love, patient zero, Rachel has devoted many years to exploring, practicing, and navigating the intersection of body love, yoga, and wellness, all of which informs More to Love's offerings. She lives in Somerville, Massachusetts with her husband. So welcome, Rachel. I am so excited that you are here today on the show. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
I mean, it's just like so perfect that you are the guest for this wonderful day to talk about loving our bodies, loving ourselves more. I mean, it could not be just more divinely orchestrated.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, Valentine's Day is definitely one of those special days in my life personally. A lot of love. More to Love is built around love and acceptance. And it's my parents' 37th wedding anniversary today.
Oh my gosh.
They're married on Valentine's Day. So there's a lot going on in the Estapa world for happiness, and super excited to be here. Honored to be here. The community that you are building and cultivating. This is it's going to be an awesome time for us to chat.
I know. I cannot wait. I want to get straight into it because I feel like, you know, for those of my audience who've never heard of you and they don't know you, they need to know you. And I want you to sort of take us back to maybe your original yoga story. Like, how did you get to this place? But rewind us back. Was that strange? Like, I know my own personal story when I was getting into yoga. I was terrified, you know, as a size maybe 18 or 20 going into a yoga studio. And I can remember thinking to myself, I'm going to suffocate myself with my breasts. Like, if I bend over in child's pose, like, I'm out. I'm out for the count. And it was really intimidating for me to, you know, go into a yoga studio. So I'm curious for you, did you experience anything like that? Like, how did you get to the place where you actually felt comfortable wanting to do yoga in the body that you have today?
Yeah, you know, I always talk about More to Love happening in two ways. First, as what you kind of see it today, sort of this sharing More to Love's principles of yoga, body acceptance with other people. But in reality, the seedlings of More to Love started way before I even knew about yoga, way before I even knew that you can build a life and a business based on what you innately feel is your gifts and calling in life. So I grew up just north of Boston, and you know, had the gift of the seaside and just beautiful outdoors. And I would always play out there, and very athletic and active kid until about puberty, when seemingly overnight my body changed into something that I didn't understand. It was much larger than people around me, and even this sense from like my doctors and adults in my life that there was something wrong. So from pretty early age, when I was coming into my sense of self and womanhood, that I felt a disconnect between my body, and it imprinted on me a lot of self-shame, self-loathing, insecurity, even how I would present myself to the world. And, you know, my first diet, or my first foray into dieting, was when I was, you know, in my early teens. And that really took a toll on my sense of self, sense of body, sense of being able to be seen in the world, because I felt like I had to fix what was broken with me. So, you know, going throughout the teen years and into my early 20s, I was always athletic. I was always very active with movement, but it was more so through the lens of like, well, this is what I should be doing so that I can be a smaller size. So eventually, you know, I came to yoga not as a way for it to become what More to Love is today. My first yoga class was actually the worst yoga experience I've ever had, and I know that I'm not alone in that. There was a new studio that opened up around the corner from me, and I wanted to give it a try. And, you know, very quickly when I got in there, Her
audio went out. Hey, Rachel, hang on 1 second. I don't know if you can hear me, but we lost your audio, so hang on 1 second. Let's see if we can get it back, because this is such a good story. I don't want to miss it. Hang on. All right, hang on 1 second. We are just going to make sure we've got Rachel's audio. This is the joy of Facebook Live. You know, sometimes there's these these little snafus, and you just have to go with it. So, gosh, and let me just say too that what you're sharing, this story already, I'm like, I know so many people who could say, yes, me too, I've experienced that. Okay, I think we're good to go. Okay, so go take us back to a new studio just opened up around the corner from you.
Perfect. Is that good? All good?
Yeah,
cool.
All good.
Yeah. So, like I said, my early 20s, I'm still in this mindset that in order to make me the best version of myself that I can ever be, I have to be a smaller version of myself. So, a new studio opened up around the corner for me. So I thought, hey, I've know a little bit about yoga. I've heard about it. I've seen people doing yoga, and they're all a certain size. So I went, and it was by far one of the worst experiences I've ever had, especially in yoga, but just in general overall. The class was not meant for someone of a larger body, meaning that the pace, the atmosphere, the way that the teacher interacted with me, and very quickly, I think like 20 minutes in, it was about 100 degrees in there, and I do not like the heat. I'm from Boston. Like, wintertime is my favorite part of the whole world because I'm always hot. And I was about to pass out, and I ran out of the studio, ran into this pretty busy intersection, really feeling like, damn it, here's this thing that is supposed to make me feel better, and now I feel worse. And that was really in I guess in coordination with a lot of like reflection that I was doing in my life, because I spent the first part of my life essentially believing that there was something fundamentally wrong with me because of the way that I looked, and that the world around me, doctors, especially in the medical community, were telling me that there was this big problem. Even though I may not have felt it, like my body always felt strong, my body always felt capable of doing things, but I just did not lead with that. So, I eventually started to find another yoga studio that was much better. Still wasn't catered towards plus size bodies. So I had to really adopt a sense of my own learning on how to make poses, how to make the class and space work for me. But at this time also, this is when I decided that I was done believing that I was a broken piece that needed to be fixed. So for me, yoga and body acceptance, they informed one another from the start, because I learned that through a practice of yoga, and we can talk kind of more into it, like what Mortal of Yoga is about and how the aspect of that really is transforming other people's lives, is that I wanted to feel that my body was something to appreciate, even though at first it didn't feel that way at all. It felt hard to accept the way that my body was naturally moving. So the more I practiced yoga and the more that I practiced body acceptance and wrote about it and shared the journey, I quickly realized, like, this is something so amazing for other people to experience, because yoga was a tool for me to connect more deeply with a body that I had felt estranged from pretty much my whole life, and to feel strong, to feel capable, to feel powerful, and to feel graceful in that body. It was amazing. But I knew that a lot of, especially larger bodies, the traditional wellness spaces were not a welcoming place, because there was always this position of, you need to get to a different body type in order to say that you're a bona fide yogi. So I went to yoga school out in the western part of Massachusetts. It's called Kripalu, and it's world renowned for an amazing yoga program. And I went there.
Hang on one second, Rachel. Sorry, I think we're dealing with a slow connection, so let's just see 1 second. I'll share too while we're waiting for that connection to come back in. Sorry to have the interruption there, but I can remember too, like, going in to be a yoga instructor. I remember myself. I said to the people that were doing the course, I said, "Hey, I'm in a larger body. I'm probably not your typical student. I'm probably not somebody who is able to do all the things that you might be teaching in the teacher training or anything." And yet there was this kind of voice in the back of my head that I was hoping that they would reject me. I was almost like wanting for them to say, like, "Hey, you're too big. You need to lose weight before you come in and become a yoga teacher." And the reality was, is they were so amazing. They were like, "No, come on, we'll figure it out." And kind of like you, I had to really figure out in that setting how to make adjustments myself for my body, because I don't think that they had ever had somebody who went through the training with my size body before. And so that was a big thing for me, was learning, okay, how can I begin to make these adjustments where I could move my stomach, I could move my breasts, I could move my body in a way that allowed me, like you said, to feel powerful, to feel graceful. I mean, that was such a new feeling to be able to connect to my body in that way. And what I realized as part of my teacher training at the end was that we had to create like a syllabus for a series of classes. And so I ended up doing a series for plus size women. And what I realized at that moment, several years ago, before body positivity had the reach that it does now, was that I was thinking like, oh, I want to create a space because I know there are other women out there like me. I know there are other women who want to be able to feel strong, even in, the non-traditional body size and shape. Okay, so I think, oh, there you go. Okay. So sorry, I'm like looking at Matt getting this connection. So it's just really, I love that. And go ahead, so now you're online. So take us back to what you were talking about with going into the institute.
Yep. Did a little scene change. Maybe this will help.
Nice. Awesome. I love it.
Wow, good thing I cleaned the house this morning. Because, not really. So I decided that there was this gap between, well, I didn't decide to make the gap between plus size people and feeling accepted in the yoga community, but I took advantage of an opportunity, which is a business lesson for those that are business minded in there. So I went to Kripalu, which is in the Berkshires of Western Massachusetts, and I said to them, there aren't any fat people represented in yoga, especially there at your location. I want to change that. So I went to the intensive program. I lived there for a month, did yoga 12 hours a day at least, and learned from really the gurus, essentially, of the yoga philosophy. And then knowing that I wanted to take this and develop and build a More to Love yoga so that people who felt intimidated to try yoga, people who felt left out of the common access to how yoga is, felt like they had a place to be welcome. Felt like they had a place to learn not only proper and correct, yoga that is for your body, but also pairing it with body acceptance lessons and body acceptance perspectives. So every, More to Love yoga class that I run, it really is this synthesis between yoga practices, the lineage that dates back thousands of years, to honor and respect that very, very important lineage, and to bring in aspects of body positivity so that people are feeling like they're connecting back with themselves, no matter where they are on their body acceptance journey. So it's been quite a remarkable 2 years since I've added More to Love yoga, especially. My first class was in some park down the street from me. There was like 4 or 5 people, and then quickly I just started renting space locally. And fast forward to this past fall, I won a huge contest with MasterCard and Bank of America to help grow More to Love, Grow Your Biz contest, and now my classes are sold out for the next 3 weeks. And people are, clamoring to come. They travel all over, really, the Boston area, and some people from like other New England states to come and participate in a yoga class, because it is all about making yoga feel like it's something that you're capable of doing and building a community around that. So that's More to Love, and that's how yoga is brought into it.
That's so powerful to hear. I mean, just like the initiative that you had to go into something that wasn't really being done before, especially not where you were, and to go into an institute that's so well established, and to say, hey, this is something that needs to change, and I'm willing to help create that change, and then taking that on for yourself and making that an entire movement. And so I'm kind of curious, with people who are maybe obviously not in your area and can't take a class from you. I know you sort of had these essentials or the principles of More to Love yoga. And so I'm just curious, does that tie, if you could share those with us, and does that tie in for somebody who might be wanting to go to a yoga class, and could they take some of those principles into a yoga class and kind of adapt it for themselves?
Absolutely. More to Love obviously is more than me having a yoga class here in the Boston community. That's sort of where it lands. But More to Love exists online as a community too, and there's some courses and a couple freebies, which I think we'll get to later on. But really, the essentials around what More to Love represents. There are 5 of them, but I think I want to share maybe just 1 or 2 of them to be able to talk a bit more.
Yeah, perfect.
So that you at home or wherever you are, we're not judging you if you're in your car on your lunch break. That's a good thing. So that you can just sort of understand that what More to Love represents. If you're curious about going to yoga, and even if you never want to go to a yoga, you are still More to Love. You are still able to take these and work with them wherever you are in your wellness journey. So the first one that I wanted to share, it actually is derived from that story of me as a younger person, growing up with a body that I believed was broken. So one of the first pillars in More to Love's belief and framework for yoga and body acceptance is that you're not broken. Your body is not something to be fixed. And even just that sort of shift between, feeling broken and not feeling broken, that's a really big piece of work that we all have to do within ourselves, because all of us come to our lives, come to our bodies, come to know ourselves through the lens that maybe we need to be better. Maybe we need to be stronger. Maybe we need to fix and correct things. For some people like me, that shows up in how I view my body. But for a lot of people, this sense of deficit in your life is holding you back from being able to just express who you want to be in the world. So, the tenement of More to Love starting point really is that your body is not broken. And what that allows for me as an educator and a leader to do is just to start to invite that you're going to shift your thinking around what's possible for you. Yoga is an amazing tool to help you get really into your body in a sensory way, through the touch, through the movement, through the kinesthetic. That's just the movement of your body, so that you can start to peel away those more superficial layers of yourself, so that you can start to tap more into your thoughts, how your thoughts then impact emotions, and how your emotions then impact your sense of ability to be yourself in the world. So it's all interconnected. But if you take it from a perspective that what you're experiencing and what you're feeling, what you're sensing is not wrong or broken, then you get much more curious about what's underneath the surface. And so in my yoga class, and also through the some of the online courses that I have, it really helps you sort of get into that sense of what does it mean to no longer feel like I'm broken? Well, what do I think about that? Do I feel a lot of resistance to that? That's what diet mentality is. That's what the whole culture around the beauty aesthetic is that there's something wrong with you. Here's a way to fix it. Right. And there's a lot of money to be made in thinking that way. So I sort of take the perspective that what if we start from a place that maybe there is a lot of cool, good stuff that doesn't need tinkering. It just needs your attention. And so that's really the first tenement to what More to Love represents and stands for.
I love that. And that's something that for me is such a journey, is to always come back to there is nothing wrong with me, that I am perfect just the way that I am today, and that nothing needs to change. I can't earn more love. I can't lose the love that I already have. And, in a space for yoga, it triggers that, because what we see in the media as for yoga, would be tall ballerina style bodies that are very thin and, live in California and the whole kind of thing, which of course that exists, right? If we're truly inclusive of all body types and body positivity, yes, right? All bodies can do yoga. But one of the things that I hear all the time is that people are under the impression that they cannot be fit until they are skinny, or they can't be healthy, they can't be strong, they can't, whether it's yoga or go to the gym. There's this gap that happens where they're like, until I lose weight, I can't walk into the studio, or until I lose weight, I can't walk into a gym. And so how do you combat that? Do you believe, I kind of know the answer, but maybe speak to this. Do you believe that if I reside in a larger body or a plus size body, however you would want to frame it, can I be as strong as someone who weighs less than me, or is naturally, or on this journey of being really, really thin? How do you combat that fear that I have to be thin in order to be fit and strong?
Yeah, I make this comment a lot that the way that yoga, especially, is sort of advertised in the world is that it looks exactly like a ad for like a sandals resort in the Caribbean. Like it's just this sort of serene environment and flowing robes and just usually a thin white well proportioned woman with long blonde hair that's just soaking in the goddess rays. And those images that you see perpetuated, they sort of stick with you for a long time. And a lot of people come to me with this question that you just asked. How is it that I can you know work or shift the perspective of what health and wellness means for me amidst all of these very real issues that I have going into my body. And it actually is one of the other pillars of More to Love is that, for me, body acceptance means being honest. That's it. And what that means is if you are able to look at yourself honestly, not from a place of critique or judgment, and there's a process around that, to look at yourself from a place of what is true, what is real, what is going on with your body, then the thought of comparison loses its power. Because to me, health and wellness are spectrums in general, but even for your own self, it's a spectrum. Some days we wake up feeling achy and sore for something maybe known, something unknown, something that is chronic or happens to be in our lives. Some days we go to bed with the body that we will, not wake up with tomorrow. So there is always this flux of change in how you experience your own sense of just being present and being alive in the world. So I really take time to help people understand that, the spectrum of how you're feeling is really what you should be most focused on. And sometimes that means that, a complete, ban and cutout of media and sometimes people or things that aren't supporting that sense of like self acceptance and body acceptance, and I can talk about that later on. But the sense that body acceptance is being honest, meaning that for me personally, like I've been a larger body my whole life. That's just one aspect of my body experience, body acceptance, being larger, having a belly, all those things. That's just one part of it. I also have a hormonal disorder, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which has been something in my life for decades now. I've had multiple surgeries based around it. I've had medications. I've had a lot of things going on around that. That to me is also a management of body acceptance, and also chronic pain. I have sciatica, so having to learn how to still involve myself in yoga, but tending to some very real body issues is it takes a lot of work. But I learned that there's a difference between feeling like something owns you and rather than you actually owning it and managing it. So my perspective around pain and diseases and things that sort of are kind of sometimes out of our own control, I have a much more compassionate view of it, and how yoga, body acceptance, those tools can be a way to help me remind myself on what it means to be gentle when I need to, what it means to take rest when I need to, what it means to not feel like I should. I'm going to underline that word, should be doing something else, because then I'm out of the realm of reality. I'm out of the realm of acceptance whenever I go down that path of comparison to either myself, maybe a former self of my life, or maybe what I think I ought to be someday, and then also with other people. So body acceptance means being honest, and that's something that, sorry those watching, or maybe not sorry, this will be a lifelong process. I have accepted that body acceptance and the skill and the work around it is something that I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And I actually am thankful for that, because this gift of being able to perceive myself in this way, to connect with people in this way, it has opened up far more doors than it ever possibly could have if I didn't believe that it was worthy enough for me to try and learn this path of acceptance. So there's this aspect of, what ails you makes you stronger. What that tension is in your life is actually a gift to find out what really matters and is a value of you. And pain, body acceptance, things that you are struggling with, they're hard because they're lessons. And I really do take that into consideration with a lot of my work with More Love.
I love that. I have my yoga teacher. She always says, be grateful for your challenges, and then they can turn into blessings. And so in our practice, we always have a moment where we are taking the time to offer gratitude for all of our challenges, because you're right, they are lessons, powerful lessons that allow us to evolve into more acceptance, more love. But it is a journey. Like, I mean, I deal with it, I would say, every day, and I've moved along the spectrum from a lot of hate to more and more acceptance to more and more love. And I feel like there's obviously a way longer way to go. But I think what you're talking about with the honesty piece is so beautiful, because when I think about being honest, it's like being willing to admit what's coming up, being willing to admit that you're tired, that you're exhausted, that you're in pain, that your body is the way that it is today. But I think the second piece to that, as I was hearing you speak, I just thought, and let's add on zero judgment. And I think that's really the acceptance piece of that, like the honesty, like here's where I'm at today, in this present moment, in this present body, here's where I am. That's the honesty piece. And then attaching to it the non-judgment. Because it's very easy to say, well, I'm experiencing this pain, and then we, slap on the meaning or the interpretation that I shouldn't be feeling the pain, that pain is bad, pain means that I should lose weight, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, I need to change my diet, and it's like we, go spiral right back into diet mentality, diet culture, and if we can come at it from a place of non-judgment, I don't even know if that's one of your pillars or your essentials, but I think that's a huge component. Honesty plus non-judgment. I mean, would you just say that is also something that is really incorporated in what you talk about?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's sort of the thread of what this represents. Yes, you were expertly leading into my other pillars.
Perfect.
And this speaks to that body acceptance is not a place. It's not like a destination. That's diet thinking. That's the whole belief that if you do X, Y, Z, there is this final endpoint of your body, of your sense of self, and how other people will perceive you, and then that's it. Great. It doesn't work that way. Being someone that actually did that, followed the script, followed the rules to the weight loss, and I realized, wow, how I see myself didn't change at all. It actually almost magnified the things that I still had yet to resolve about my sense of being able to be vulnerable with people. There is no size, shape, or body that makes someone less likely to feel like they can be vulnerable with people. That is an internal process, right? And for me, another thing that used to show up a lot was that the vulnerability piece, but also then the being myself piece. That I could be too loud, that I could be, that I could be funny, that I would be able to somehow be girly and then, geeky smart at the same time. Like a lot of those constraints around expectation, around judgment of how you should be, they really have nothing to do with body size, but our own thinking of what's possible for us. And this, when you make the shift over into body acceptance way of life, again, it's not a destination. There is no script. There is no mold for how this is going to look like for you, and it may be a long time before you come to a sense of how to write your own definitions. And for a while, you may need the help of support of professionals and your friends and community. That's great. That's why I exist. That's why you exist, right, Mary? That's why the people that we look to exist, because we need help in how to keep this very rewarding but also very challenging process of self-acceptance going, because it is so hard to stand alone against a world and a backdrop that continuously wants to make you believe that there is something wrong with you. And sometimes you've got it awesome. Sometimes you feel like, you're on top of the world, the phase of just like power and enactment. Sometimes you just crumble. And for me, I believe that those parts of like crumbling or retreat are really just a signal to you that maybe your foundation or what you value most about yourself and your life, maybe there's been a shift with what your priorities have been, where your time and energy, mental, physical, emotional, have been going to. So again, this is some deep stuff. It's much more than an hour yoga class. That's just one way to help people get comfortable with the idea of being able to slip into non-judgment. And that's there are people that spend decades, their whole lives around this thought of how do I just detach a little bit more from what my ego says should be happening to me right now, or what my ego says is the right thing to do. I mean, that's where all of this originates from.
Yeah.
So I don't have it figured out. Absolutely not. And I'm still actually really excited that I don't have it figured out, because it's a rewarding process for me to keep learning and to keep sharing it.
Gosh, I would totally agree with that and say, yeah, same here. Just still on the journey, still figuring out. And I love almost the permission to release the fact that there has to be a destination, that this is just an ongoing process. And I love that you pulled in, like, okay, what are some ways, yoga being one of them, to like detach from the ego. And I think about the ego is diet mentality and what they care about, what they, kind of, put on a pedestal of our appearance and all of that. For me, I get triggered, can get triggered very easily the moment that those messages are in my sphere. So whether that be commercials, magazines, social media, friends, going to a yoga class. Charlene, one of our viewers, actually said that she got kicked out of a yoga class. And so like that is obviously like a moment of like, oh my gosh, I can't accept and love my body if the person up here is not doing that. So there's like triggers on every level, right? So I'm curious for you, like what have been some ways that you've been able, like tangible, practical ways? You kind of mentioned social media as like, I want to get into that, but what are some ways to detach from diet culture into more body positivity on like a daily basis that helps to reinforce kind of this new way of being, of love and accepting?
Yeah. Um, so there is this so part of that time when I was talking about my first foray into a yoga class, I had mentioned that there was sort of like a couple things going on for me personally at that time. So to kind of talk about this, I want to take a little visit back for about a decade ago, really. I knew that I couldn't sustain this diet mentality, um, both physically, emotionally, mentally, but also it was waning on my spirit. It was waning on who I was, or who I knew that I really was deep down, but not allowing that to shine. So I at the time had just moved in with my boyfriend, who's now my husband, and I had a freak out, like sort of early on when you start coupling up with people, it's sort of, you see this like really vulnerable moment, and I was just crying, saying like, there's gotta be more to love about me than what I look like. And that's where the term more to love comes from. Um, but really, the whole tone around that was, I have no idea what I need to do to start loving myself. And it felt liberating at one side and then terrifying on the other. So for a year, just about every single day, I used to do something regarding body acceptance that I would make up myself that I thought would be a nice way to learn how to shed some insecurity and regain confidence. And so over that year, I wrote them all down. I surrounded myself, with post-it notes and journals, and I shared them with some very few close people, like my now husband, a couple of my friends. And really, that list of actions is what built my first e-course, the More to Love e-course. Sort of, it's 30 ways to love yourself and activities that were all grounded in a way to cultivate this sense of inner confidence from within. And I guess I'll just sort of kind of give a few of them, maybe one or two, that just sort of where I started. The first one was permission. The first one really was permission, meaning that I need to give myself the space to just not know what's going to happen to me next. Know that it's okay to have this sort of confusing relationship with my body, but also setting the intention that, you know what, I'm not someone that doesn't work hard. I'm not someone that just sort of slips away from things that intimidate me, or else I don't want to be that way. I set myself up to say, like, I'm going to figure this out. And that to me was what permission was about. It was permission to like use what was inside of me to create a way to be more myself in the world. Another one for me was actually the way that I look, the way that I presented myself to the world. I used to wear baggy clothing, feeling that my stomach and hips and all these, they should be hidden from the world. I'm probably not alone about that.
Mm-hmm.
I did not wear makeup. I did not, do my hair. Today, for me, hair and appearance, while I know it means 0% to the world, and I believe that it should, to me, it is an act of like adorning what I love about my body. I feel blessed to have hair that cooperates with me. I feel blessed that I wear clothing that is an extension of my personality, of how I'm feeling. But to then start to use fashion and apparel in a way that was not a critique of my body but a celebration of my body, that was a big step for me. And then the third piece that is what I also cover in the course is about the sort of like, what are those like intangible things that make me me? What is that thing that is just the thread of who you are? It's what your closest friends and family, they see in you, they love in you. It's probably the thing that makes you really excited. Maybe it's the way that, maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's a perspective or a topic in the world that just sort of sparks you up. Is that getting enough attention in your life? Is that something that is making its way to the forefront of who you are, what you do in this world? And if the answer is no, then that's great, because now it's like, well, how do we start to make that happen? And that may seem like an odd thing to pair with body acceptance, but not really, not in the more to love way, because body acceptance derives from this inner well first, radiating outward. So I really take a lot of time trying to blend both the characteristics of like who I am as a person and then what I'm doing with my body in the world, because it just helps to make me feel more at ease. It helps me feel balanced. And as an overthinker, I can get lost in a train of thought for hours, for days, for weeks, for months, whatever, and it just makes me feel just stuck in place. And to then use my body, use these resources on how to make those little shifts back to empowerment, it's been an amazing thing to help me just to not dismiss those bad days or funks. Like, they're necessary, they're normal, we all need them, but to know that like that's what that is. It doesn't have to impact things that it shouldn't have any effect or ripple on. So there's like I said, there's 30 activities that really get to the heart of what More to Love about. More to Love represents body acceptance in a way that is just hoping to cultivate that sense of like, who am I as a person? What do I want to be like in my life? And more importantly, am I setting myself up to let those things lead?
I love that, and I love what you said about just the celebration of my body, the adornment, and I think about the belief that had to probably be under that ability to show up in that way would be, I am worthy enough to be seen. Like, it's okay for me to be seen. Because I think so many times, because of the shame, we want to hide, we want to cover ourselves up, we want, to be invisible because of that fear of rejection and all the shame that gets thrown on that, and the fat shaming and the fat phobia and all of that. And so there's like this element of like, I am willing to be seen, like I am worthy of being seen, and I choose to show up in the world in a new way. And I just love that you have this resource for people, because I think that's always the question, like, okay, how do I actually do this? What does this actually look like? And I'm excited because you have a free gift for everybody who is watching. Even if you're watching the replay, I want to make sure that you know about this free gift. If you go to moretolove.com/be more to love, you can see this right there. We're going to post this in the comments as well. You will be able to get a wonderful free 30-minute yoga video from Rachel, and you're also going to get an e-guide to begin to start a body positive yoga practice. And so let me just say thank you for offering that, because it's so awesome. I mean, this is, again, it's like putting those tools in the tool belt of knowing, okay, yoga can be one of those tools that I can use to learn body positivity, body acceptance. And like you said, there's so many, obviously you've named 30 ways in your e-course that there are, but this is one of those ways. And so this is like a great place to start. So if you go to that website, you can get both of those resources from Rachel. And I'm curious, Rachel, kind of as we kind of wrap this up, for somebody who is just beginning this journey, who's probably a little bit afraid of their body, who is maybe internalizing a lot of that shame, a lot of that need to want to hide, and yet they know there is more. They know that they want to move their body. Would you maybe just have a couple words or something that you could send them off with encouragement, or even something tangible of what they can do to really just move from a place of fear into that kind of, permission?
Absolutely. And one of the ways that one of the things that I believe and know and have taught now thousands of people through yoga, through More to Love, is that your body doesn't lie to you. That you can sense and feel things in your body that sometimes contradicts what your mind is telling you. And a lot of the times when people are beginning to embark upon a body positive path or journey, I tell them to start to just take an inventory of what things in your life give you a visceral reaction. Meaning that, again, thinking in terms of a spectrum, is something that you're viewing or interacting with, is it leading you to feel excited and engaged and active? Or is it leading you to feel depleted, exhausted, less than shameful? Things that are more towards that, like less than shameful, it might be time to maybe pause on those, maybe clean up some of those things, especially in the media, Facebook pages and your Instagram feed, kind of like an what is the word, an audit around your body acceptance, because it's really hard to build forward when you're still being dragged back. And that really, to me, is something that I'm constantly doing with myself, and like using that gut check. Like, your body has a built-in system already without you even thinking about it, that kind of does know like what your preferences are. And what we are meant to do is to start to trust that way more than maybe we've done before or have been taught before. So really just kind of think, to sort of be maybe for the next couple days, to sort of notice, like, if you see something, does that excite you? Are you being pulled towards it? Do you want to experience more of that? Or is it telling you the opposite of, you know what, that's not for me, that's not what I need right now? Just honor that. Trust that your body is giving you really valuable information, and let that be a great starting point and see where it leads you.
I love that so much. I would echo all of that. Just, your body doesn't lie. I mean, that is a powerful concept to really understand and tap into. And I think yoga is an invitation to connect with that part of your body, even more the voice of your body, your own personal body's dialogue, and begin to hear it more and more. So I love that. And I want to make sure that people know where to find you. And so I want to make sure that people know to go to your Instagram page, your Facebook page, your website. So at Instagram, Rachel Estapa, Facebook, More to Love with Rachel, website, moretolovewithrachel.com. And what I would say as one of my little tips as we begin to kind of close out the show is follow Rachel. So one of the action steps that you can take is to go follow Rachel. She is somebody who is just a wealth of knowledge, and somebody who will lift your spirits on the days where you're feeling that discouragement, and be somebody in your feed that helps to instill and kind of back up this new set of beliefs that you are not broken, that there is so much of you to love, even outside of your appearance, that perhaps your appearance is the least interesting thing about you, that there's so much under the surface, and that you are safe to move your body no matter what size you are, that you can be strong, that you can be fit, that you can feel empowered, that you can feel graceful to move in your body no matter what your size is. And Rachel, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show, for sharing, your essentials to More to Love, and just your heart and just championing this mission. I mean, it really is what it feels like, a movement that you have really taken up the banner for. I know I'm grateful. I know that all of the people that are watching are grateful for your voice and for your dedication to show up and be seen. And I'm just excited. I'm excited for what's coming up next for you. And I just want to say happy Valentine's Day, and just thank you so much for being on the show today.
Absolutely. Everyone watching this, you included, Mary, you are all More to Lovelies. That's what we call ourselves. It's a community, and it's equal parts own work, equal parts the community that you build around you. And this is part of that. Surrounding yourself with people and content and voices and ideas that, again, pull you towards what you want to love. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be something that you're consciously choosing to grow in.
So great. I love it. Yes, let's bring in the community. So awesome. Well, thank you so much. I hope for all of you who are in a wonderful space and a challenging space today as it relates to Valentine's Day, have a little moment of love for yourself today, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're single, whether your relationship's complicated or amazing, that you pause today, the celebration of love, to offer that to yourself, that you truly are your soul's mate. At the end of the day, you're the one that you get to live with for the rest of your life. And so whether you get to celebrate love with another person, you can certainly celebrate that with yourself. So that's my encouragement to you today. And I'm excited to see you next week on the Facebook Live show. So mark your calendars for next Wednesday, 1 o'clock Central. I will be right here with you. And until then, just remember, the purpose of life is to be grateful, to be great, and to be full. I'll see you guys next week.